It's that time again. It's time to rank the 2024 AFL Indigenous jumpers. And starting off with Adelaide. Adelaide have become one of the few clubs to rename themselves this Indigenous round. They've named themselves to Kawana. And I tell you what, we are starting off with an absolute bang. I don't think the Crows have an amazing history with Indigenous jumpers, but I don't think they have a bad history. I think they're usually in the middle. However, they have blown this out the park to start the video. This is absolutely beautiful. The way the whole jumper is composed, the path down the bottom incorporating the yellow and the red, which incorporates the land, and then up the top of the jumper incorporating the blue is the sky. So it incorporates land and sky. There's a little road down the bottom, which I assume means, something to do with a journey. By the way, I am purely ranking this off design, nothing to do with the story. All the stories are great, and a lot of the time I'm guessing what they mean, but I think all of the jumpers in their own right are brilliant. I'm purely basing this on how I think they look, and the crow in the middle really stands out. Adelaide, to start off, are heading into outstanding. That is brilliant. Now let's move on to the Brisbane Lions, who have two jumpers this season. Not the biggest fan for me. I think the artwork's really cool when you zoom in on it, but when you actually take a look, it's just the normal home base jumper with artwork plonked on the top, and then the lion looks really out of place. I usually love the Brisbane Indigenous jumpers. I'm not falling in love with either of these. I think the away is slightly better than the home just because I like the colours more. But I think they're both going to go in meh. Maybe down to nah. I'm not a fan of either of them. I think the lion looks really out of place. The artwork's good as an actual art piece, but on a footy jumper, it's sort of just plonked on the normal home and away base. I don't actually love it. Now let's move on to Carlton, and I must say, as much as I hate the football club, this jumper is very clean. I rate this Blues jumper a lot. With Carlton, there's two risks. You can either go way too safe, or you can go way too over the top and go too messy. I think the Blues have got the mix right here. There's designs fading in and out towards, I think the designs fade in and out where the monogram centralizes the whole thing, makes it the focal point. The designs down the bottom are really clean, as well as up the top. You can't do a lot with a Carlton jumper, which makes me think I don't think I'll ever put a Carlton jumper in very good or outstanding, but for what the Blues have done, it's decent and what they can do. Now let's move on to the Pies. They've gone with a white base for this season, and I've got to say, I don't think it's one of Collingwood's best. I think the design's a bit all over the place. I like how they have kept to the traditional jumper by only adding a few additions. But overall, I don't love the artwork on the jumper. I think, again, it looks a bit too messy. And I think one thing teams have to get right in an Indigenous jumper is finding the balance between keeping your original jumper and, blending it in nicely with the artwork, not just plonking it on top. And I think a bit like Brisbane, this is just sort of putting artwork everywhere and hoping for the best. I don't love it, if I'm being honest. I don't think it's one of the Magpies' strongest. I'm going to put Collingwood probably ahead of Brisbane, but I'm going to put them in meh. Now let's move on to the Bombers, and oh boy, this is very good from Essendon. They've gone for the red base for the Dreamtime Clash, and the sash looks brilliant with the artwork going through. I don't even know what that is, to be honest, but it looks very nice. The artwork in the background is so perfectly incorporated into the jumper with a few sharks in the bottom right. I love this. This is one of Essendon's best ever Dreamtime jumpers. It's very close to going outstanding. Oh, could it? Could we put this in outstanding? Oh, wow. It would be humongous cool. I think we do. I love it. I think it's perfect. I think it is absolutely perfect. I still have Adelaide just above, but I love it. The way it's composed, the way it's not just artwork plonked on top of a footy jumper and actually incorporated into the Guernsey really nicely. They found a balance really well there, the Bombers. That is a brilliant jumper. Before we go on any further, I saw the other day that 60% of my viewers aren't subscribed to the channel, and with the amount of big content we've got coming up and we have uploaded over the past few weeks, you don't want to miss out on any of it, and we are on the push to 7k, so make sure you hit that subscribe button to not miss a thing. Okay, now for the Dockers. Every single year, I'm very fair with how I rank Freo's jumpers. I think a couple years ago, I put ours really low, and a lot of the time, we're sort of in the middle period. We've hit the banger. This is our best ever Indigenous Guernsey. What a jumper. We finally incorporated the anchor into the Indigenous Guernsey, which is what I've personally been asking for ages, and it looks superb. Big shout out to Michael Johnson, the designer of this jumper. The story is really good. I watched his press conference on it. So down the bottom, there's a big circle, and all the little dots represent the fans who go to the stadium. And if you see the pathways towards the top left and the top right of the jumper, all those pathways, a different number of lines, sort of represent the number of kids that Michael Johnson and the other designer had. Down the bottom left and right, you can see the old green and red incorporated, and then the anchor has been incorporated in a traditional fashion as well as the sorry flower from the Stolen Generation, which we do every year on our jumpers. This is our best ever jumper. I may be biased, but this is superb. The home one goes outstanding. However, I love our class jumpers, but for some reason it just doesn't do it for me. It's going in very good. Now let's move to the cats. Yeah, not for me, Clive. I don't know. Again, it just doesn't look like a football jumper. It is just a lot of artwork put in the middle of a piece of fabric, and I don't think it's been incorporated very well whatsoever. I think this is one of the Cat's weakest ever Indigenous jumpers, because overall I don't feel like they're a bad team when it comes to these Guernsey. Yeah, Geelong have really not done a very good job this year. The Gold Coast Suns have two, and I'm not actually sure which one I like more, because both are very clean. This is the last we'll see of these Suns Indigenous jumpers with the big GC in the middle, because from the sounds of it, next year the Suns are getting a new jumper and a new logo. So these are the last jumpers we'll ever rate, with the big GC logo in the middle, and I think they've done very well with it. On the first one with the snake, I think it looks very clean with some subtle artwork in the background. I think that goes in decent. Above Carlson for me, I think it does the job very well. And then this one, I actually like the snake one a bit more, but it still goes above Carlson. I think the Suns have done a very good job this year of incorporating their colours into a jump, incorporating the Indigenous history, the story, and I think the artwork mixed in with the colours, mixed in with an actual football jumper, looks fantastic. The Suns have done a good job. Greater Western Sydney. Oh boy, straight to the very, very mountain. They don't miss on the football field, on their social media, on tier makers. They are astounding. In fact, all jumpers in general, their Guernseys are mint. They have sort of adopted the name of the orange team, and they've started to use orange in a lot more of their jumpers, but their most well-known iconic jumper is the Never Surrender charcoal jumper they wear in finals and in Sydney derbies, and this is very similar to that with an Indigenous twist. The design in the G is fantastic. I have no idea what that animal is, but it looks brilliant. The side panels look so clean. The artwork looks like a proper footy jumper. The Giants have smashed this out of the park. What a Guernsey. The Hawks actually have two here, one brown, one gold. Let's start with the brown, and I think they found the balance with footy jumper and artwork. It looks really well. They've sort of almost got the main artworks in the middle, with what looks like sort of the coast of Australia with a hawk flying across. I could be wrong, but that's what it sort of looks like. And they've got a brown bit outside the artwork, which sort of borders and centralizes the artwork as the focal point of the jumper. The artwork on the collars is also really nice. Even the yellow bordering around the brown bordering looks really clean. Hawthorn have done great. Even their sponsor, which is Tasmania, they've actually changed it to their Indigenous name, Lushra. I like the brown slightly more than the gold. I think the brown goes above the Dockers one, and I think the gold probably goes below the Dockers one. I'm happy with that. Hawthorn have done a very good job this year. Historically, not too big a fan of Hawthorn Indigenous jumpers, but they've done very well this year. Now, Melbourne or NARM, they very rarely miss, and this is no exception. What a couple jumpers they have released. They've got really nice colours to work with, I won't lie, and they use them to perfection every single year. The designs are so subtle but so clean and so unique every year. There's a heart in the middle of the jumper. The V sort of incorporates the artwork. The emblem remains on the jumper. The little dots in the background make it stand out. Again, Melbourne just smashing out the ballpark as they seem to do every year. I don't think it's outstanding, however. I don't think it's on the level of the Giants, the Crows, the Dockers, and the Bombers. So I don't even know if it's above Hawthorn. There are some very good jumpers this year. I think this is above Freo. And I think, I just like the home more than the clash. And I usually like their clashes more, but they're very close. I'm going to put those two in between the Hawthorn home and the Dockers away. If North Melbourne got premiership points for every time they were high up in these tier rankings, they would be probably top of the table, because they smash it out of the park every single year. What a jumper. In between Adelaide and the Giants for me. The Roos, again, have such nice colours to work with. That light blue that they use, the glowy white lines that separates the different shades of blue, the kangaroos with patterns in them bouncing across. It looks so, so nice. It actually reminds me of a jumper they wore in the 2000s/early 2010s, the Argentina strip. It reminds me of that with an Indigenous twist. Lovely jumper. The Roos have done well. Port Adelaide. Now, I think they've done better than what they have in the previous years. It looks more like a footy jumper. They've incorporated Indigenous designs into the chevrons, which I like. They've got some very subtle artwork going all throughout the jumper. I think it's as decent gets. It's very, very decent. I don't think it goes above Carlton. I think it goes below Carlton. It's just very middle of the road, does the job, very safe. Good work, power. Now let's go to the other Dreamtime club in Richmond. And I really like this. I don't think it's on the same tier as the Bombers, I won't lie. But I still think the lizard going across the jumper, the yellow sash looks beautiful. The really subtle design in the background, I think Richmond have done very well. It's got to go in the very good category, but... oh, maybe not very good. Maybe decent. I think top of decent. They've done well. And in fact, I'm going to make a little switch. I'm going to put the Hawks in outstanding. I'm going to move the Bombers down. That Hawthorn home is so nice. Yeah, I agree with that. And now the St Kilda home and away. I'm actually going to get to see this home jumper in person on Saturday night against the Dockers at Marvel Stadium. Very similar to their one from last year. I won't lie. Very, very similar. But it's so nice. It's so subtle. The patterns, the black side panels make the yellow and red stand out massively. Obviously, the colours of the Aboriginal flag. The St Kilda, once again, smashing out the ballpark. Very similar to last year, which is the only thing I'll deduct points with. I remember for a lot of years, I deducted points off Sydney because they had the same jumper every single year. And I've got to do a bit of the same with the Saints. But that being said, it's not a bad jumper whatsoever. I'm going to put it above Hawthorn. I'm going to put it below that Dockers one. I'm going to put it in very good for St Kilda. Now let's move to their clash. It's pretty much their actual clash jumper, but with the exact same designs as the home one. Same black side panels that are on the home one as well. I don't think it's as strong as the home, I won't lie. I think it goes in decent, and I think it goes above the Richmond one, top of decent. Sydney, that is astounding. That is beautiful. They've gone with the white base. They've gone with an inverse front. The Opera House stands out. You've got the Harbour Bridge inside the Black Swan. You've got the circles telling stories on either corner of the jumper. You've got the subtle patterns in the background of cave paintings. It's just perfection. The inverse colour makes it. And everything around it, everything's incorporated so well. The swan with the Harbour Bridge in it actually halves into an Indigenous elder as well. It's just beautiful. Everything about it. It's going to go second. It's going to go second, just above North. But those top three are very hard to separate. The two Sydney teams and the Roos, very, very hard to separate, which is not something we'll be saying on the football field this year. Look, it brings me no joy to do this, but look, watch any one of my... if you're going to accuse me of bias, watch any one of these videos that I've done over the years. I always have West Coast in quite a high position because I think they do very well year after year. What is that? As I said earlier, this has nothing to do with the stories, the meanings. I'm purely basing this off a naive view of the design and what I think looks good. And I think that looks terrible. I've even seen the players wear it in training and it just looks like it fits in training. I think at home they'll be wearing blue shorts with it as well, which is going to look extra odd. There is just too much going on. The eagle looks ultra realistic and the yellow blends into an orange. I don't know what... This is probably the most I've disliked an Indigenous jumper ever on one of these videos. I never have a jumper that I put in such a low tier. I don't like it. Let's move on to the Bulldogs now. You've got the Indigenous flag down the bottom. You've got a few designs. You've got the wavy hoops, which have designs in them as well. Very, very subtle. I think it's clean for the most part, but it just doesn't do a lot for me. I'd probably put this one below the power, and I'd put the white one below the blue as well. I think the dogs ones are just weaker than the power. Not the best, not the worst, they do the job. So there are my Indigenous jumper rankings for 2024. We've got in the top tier, the Giants, the Swans, the Roos, the Crows, the Dockers home, and the Hawks home. In very good, we've got the Bombers, the D's and home and away. Then we've got the Dockers away. Then we've got the Saints home and the Hawks away. Then in decent, we've got the Saints away, the Tigers home, the two Suns, the Blues, the Power, the Dogs home and away. Then in meh, we've got the Pies and both the Lions jumpers. And then nah, we've got the Cats and we've got the Eagles. There we go. Let me know what you think of the rankings down in the comment section. If you want to do this tier list yourself, I'll leave the link in the description. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Cheers.